Welcome back to the Coach Dad podcast, where we talk faith, family, and the mindset it takes to raise champions on and off the field. I'm your host, Mama Rush, and I'm glad you're here. Today is our parent edition. This episode, it's a little heavier. Across the sports world, we've seen painful reminders that even the strongest athletes can struggle quietly. So today, we're talking to parents about pressure, identity, and faith. How to check in on your child's heart, not just their stats. If you've ever tied your own worth to your kid's performance or felt like you had to hold it all together, this one's for you. Let's get into it. Hi, Coach Dad.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well.
I think before we get started on our episode today, let's just get everybody caught up with kind of where we are in our own recruiting process. We were at Northern Arizona University, NAU. So talk a little bit about that experience.
It was an amazing experience in meeting the players and coaches and getting to talk more intently about what they're looking for and how they see David, as a potential role in their program. They have a number 11 who is a speedster.
He is a speedster.
Yeah. Amazing athlete. They see David as being that kind of athlete, and so we're going to keep grinding and keep going back to the drawing board and see if we can meet expectations.
Yes, it was really a lot of fun. They're an awesome group.
Yeah.
We want to bring you guys kind of into our own experience and our own journey with David's recruitment, just as an example of sort of our real life experience. We think that would add some value to this discussion. And so what was the outcome of our visit?
David got a scholarship offer.
Yay.
This is his fourth offer. He has an offer from Wofford University. He has an offer from Utah. He has an offer from San Diego State. And
now NAU. Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get into this. So, Coach Dad, when the headlines hit about a young athlete's mental health crisis, so many parents felt that ache in their chest. Yeah. Why does it hit so close to home?
As a former athlete and as an athlete who has sought out help for depression and different things that come along with life and just dealing with old baggage. I'm reminded of a teammate that I had at the University of Florida, and he used to struggle with alcohol and talking to himself and, just highs and lows. And we didn't know that he was having mental health episodes. We didn't know that he was struggling. At the time, it was the 90s. No one knew.
Right. I don't think there was a lot of focus on it.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot of information on it. And we just wrote it off as he's crazy. He got issues. Yeah. And he just recently wrote a book about it. And he was like, while everybody was calling me crazy, I was hurting.
Oh, my God.
I was crushed.
In retrospect, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel horrible because, I don't know how I could have, but, in retrospect, you think to yourself, here we are whispering about the guy when the guy needed help.
And I think in fairness, though, I feel like nowadays we're much more emotionally intelligent.
Right.
There were not those types of resources. It really wasn't something that people just openly talked about. You just got to suck it up,
Well,
There's
a lot of things that go along with that. Being a man in America, especially during that time, it's pick yourself up from the bootstraps. What's wrong with you?
Right.
What you crying for? Depression. What do you mean you're depressed? You better get up.
You better get up.
And better do something. And all that sounds great. And so you heard me talk about in the previous episodes, I learned to do it crying. Yeah. Learn to walk through the pain.
Right.
But it doesn't mean it's fixed.
Right.
And so when I hear about the young man that, allegedly committed suicide, I think about all the stress that comes along with being a pro football player, with being a college football player, with being a high school football player, and, just the unrealistic expectations that people put on you, and they forget that you're a person.
Still a person.
and that you have highs and lows and ups and downs and disappointments, and just like they do.
Right.
But fans look and they criticize and they ridicule and they say all these things. Oh, that guy's trash. But nobody's checking on the guy.
Right.
And to hear that, I think about the weight of what a child goes through when we have expectations of them hitting a higher level per se.
Right.
And when you look at the data doesn't support it. Less than 1% of high school kids make it to a Division One program. And now that that's being parsed out with uh,
Transfer portal.
transfer portal, NIL, and then you start talking about Power Four, FCS, all these different things. And coaches don't have to go get high school players anymore. So there are less opportunities.
Right.
So now that 1% number even shrinks greater. And so the expectations, I talk to people all the time, and when people know that I play college football or that I have boys that play college football, they say things like, "Oh, I didn't reach the level you did. I only played D3," as though that's not an accomplishment.
Right.
As though D2 and D3 is not an accomplishment. Less than 6% of the population make it to that level. Most kids that play high school ball never make it to that next level. And so the unrealistic expectations that we have in our country to be great when greatness is a small percentage, and if everyone could do it, everybody would.
Right.
But it's only a select few that reach to those heights. And then once you are there, there's the pressure of succeeding on that level among the 1%.
Right. That's true.
And then 1% of that population makes it to the pros. There's only 400 slots each year. Now what? What happens to the thousands of other players that had aspirations?
So parents push because they love.
Mhm.
How can that love turn into pressure that steals a child's joy? Like, what early signs tell us our athlete is carrying too much?
When the athlete starts to put undue pressure on themselves, when they start to stress out over simple mistakes, instead of just playing free and allowing themselves to go through a process. When that child starts to lose sleep, or when that child's eating habits are beginning to change, and all these different things. And in the past, because we didn't know enough,
Right.
we would simply write it off that they need to get tougher and they need to figure their way through it, instead of helping them through those processes. And so with our own kids, we've had to pull them aside and say, "Hey, if you never play another down, I love you,
I
boss.
still love you.
I love you. And if this is not for you, let's pull back."
Right.
And the reality is that we have these lofty goals. And we're going to talk about this piece later, but as parents, we get so lost in the identity of our children that we're part of that stress. We're
Mm.
part of that, putting the pressure on them because our identities are tied to them.
Mm.
But
So
we'll get to that.
let me ask you this, just on that same vein.
Yeah.
I want to kind of make a connection between the 90-10 that we've been talking about in this series.
Yeah.
So you teach that 90% of success is mental
Yes.
and 10% is execution.
Yes.
When the mind starts slipping, comparison, fear, burnout,
Right.
how do we help our kids recenter? How
Well,
do you identify first that they're starting to slip?
well, first we got to get over the stigma of asking for help. The stigma of saying that, hey, I may not be the one to help my kid. And that's hard as a parent, because now you have to invite somebody else in
Right.
to be a part of that solution, whether it's a coach, a mentor, or someone else. Sometimes they just need to hear another voice. But the stigma that my kid needs help, that mentally they need help,
Yeah.
is one of the hurdles I think that we have to get over, so that we don't become a part of the stress and the unrealistic expectations.
Mm. Um, yeah, sorry, that makes me just a little, I don't know, feel a little emotional thinking about that because it's such a delicate balance.
Yeah,
You want to support your kid in their goals, but you also have to shepherd them to
Right.
make sure that they're not pushing themselves to the point that it becomes unhealthy.
Right.
It's okay to push them. We want to push them. Life is going to push you,
Mhm.
but who's watching them to
Right.
make sure that they're okay? And especially when they're not in front of you. Like I think about our boys in Oregon, and I'm like, thank God we have daily conversations, regular check ins. Whenever they deal with disappointment, like how do we remind our kids and ourselves that God's plan still stands even when the scoreboard doesn't, for example? Or what does trusting his timing really look like? I know we can speak personally
Yes.
about this.
Yes. Yes. So one of the things I try to step in and do is let them know you're okay.
You're okay.
You've fallen. You've made a mistake. Things aren't going the way you want them, but you're all right.
Mhm.
So let's recalibrate and now let's think our way through this. Let's feel our way through this. What could we have done different?
Right.
But I'm not going to berate them. Nick Saban famously talked about how his career turned around when he learned um, to help his players through the disappointment instead of berating them in it
Yeah.
and talking them through and building them back up because they've already torn themselves down. He didn't need to help them with that.
Exactly.
He needed to encourage them to get them back on a plane where they began to believe again. Because if I tear this guy down, and I talk about this with players, like, if you tear your teammate down, you still need that guy.
Right.
He still got to finish the game. That guy still got to go in the game and believe in himself. And when it begins to double down and he's dropped another pass or he's made another mistake, that's because he's overthinking. He's not playing free. And you got to build him back up. We're good with doing that with our quarterbacks, but we don't do that with anybody else.
Hmm.
We're good with,
Short
uh,
term memory.
yeah, let's get over it.
Let's
But
get over it.
we berate everybody else. We need to be a part of the encouragement and the building back up in order to be a part of the process of change.
I feel like every player is at a different place, right?
Yes.
And the way that they learn is different. And I
Uh-huh.
think about our boys. Our
Yes.
boys are famously known for being incredibly stoic to the point that could be off putting. They're just really not rah rah guys. You call it rah rah guys.
Right.
You're not gonna rah rah them into performance,
Correct.
and you're not gonna beat them down into,
Success.
success.
Right.
They're simply very even keeled guys. Tell them what you need them to do, and
Mhm.
they'll do it.
Right.
So when when you are, parenting or coaching an athlete, how do you know what the right, mix is?
Well, again, there is no cookie cutter.
Okay,
I wish I can give you a formula and say, hey, go away and do this. You got to know your kid.
got it.
And a part of becoming, having that close, intimate relationship is really getting to know them internally, understanding what their emotional makeup is, what their mental makeup is, how much they can bear, how much pain they can endure. Because as the scripture said, God will never give you more than you can bear. But as parents, we do more than they can bear.
Right.
We rain down on them. And in life, we take on more. Even though God didn't give it to you, you've taken on
You've
more
taken it on.
and it's put you in a bad light. So, one of the things that I want to, that I try to do is a check in. We do check ins
Yes.
with our kids. Hey, tell me how it's going for you. Tell me how you
How'd
feeling.
it go today?
Yeah, how did it go today? How you feeling about it?
Right.
And then let's talk about how we can reframe how we see this, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I wanted to go back though to in the original question I asked you. Um, how do we remind our kids and ourselves that God's plan still stands? So in other words, when everything looks like this is not what I thought, this is not how this was supposed to go.
Right.
Like I messed up, I did this, I did that. How do you remind them? But God still sits on the throne.
But
His
God still
plan
said.
still.
So I was just having a conversation with one of our kids today about staying ready. You got two choices when things are not going your way. You can be bitter
Right.
or you can be preparing yourself to be ready. And staying ready is changing your mindset of what it's like in that waiting season, of how you see things in that waiting season. So, give you case in point. this past game, David had a big 70-yard pass catch,
Mhm.
to set up a touchdown for our game.
Right.
It's awesome. But he was discouraged early on because, he wasn't, getting the targets that he wanted.
Right.
And he felt like he was open. But it's preparing his mindset. But you could be bitter about that,
Right.
or you could continue to prepare yourself to
And
be
be
ready.
ready.
Because when the moment comes and that ball finally comes, if you're bitter, you're going to drop it.
You're going to drop it.
I heard one of the social influencers, a guy who used to play for Baylor, say that, he's thankful that God gave him a second chance at being successful at something because now he's a social media influencer. But there was a time when he played for Baylor and he was so bitter about not getting in the game and not getting the ball and all these different things that finally two people went down and they put him in the game and he dropped the winning touchdown because he was
Yikes.
bitter. He
No.
wasn't ready for the moment.
Right.
And again, how are you preparing your mind? It's not going to always go your way. You're not going to always be the focal point. But are you ready when your number is called?
That's right.
Are you trusting that, you know what? God can do more with my one catch than he can do than I can do with those five.
I, I like that lesson for them,
Mhm.
for our kids, because I feel like don't be a diva.
Right,
Like you're not the center of the world.
right,
And certainly when you go to the next level, you're not the center of the world. We've
right,
learned that.
right,
You're starting from scratch. You got a lot to prove.
right,
Be ready.
right. Be ready. And we used to say, stay ready to keep from getting ready.
Exactly. Too many moms and dads lose themselves in the grind. When the game ends, high school, college, who are you beyond the bleachers? How do parents rediscover their identity once a season is over? We're talking about players. What about the parents?
That's a part of why we stress our kids out is because our identity, again, is tied up in who they are and what they're becoming. We often lose ourselves. Listen, I I am and was completely guilty of it. Um, when the boys went off to school, I was lost because I had just spent, you know, 15 straight years of going to this and going to that and preparing them for this, and now they're gone.
I
And now who am I and what do I do?
I want to just say, just for context,
Yeah,
I think about, especially over COVID,
yeah.
we were always getting extra workouts, extra studying film, studying plays. Like we were constantly working on our craft, constantly. So I feel like you're right. You were in and out of it, going to different camps, going to different trainings,
hmm
practice after working an 8-hour day. I mean, you were probably working 12, 15-hour days
Right.
between everything.
But it hit me so hard that I didn't have any hobbies. I didn't have
I know,
any
I'm aware.
like anything that I do for myself in the free time because it's like what free time?
Oh, yeah.
And now as we're winding down with the last two, it's like okay, who
That,
are you?
right.
And
That,
and listen, not just who are you, but who are we?
I was going
As
to say,
in
that is a whole nother episode. Oh my gosh.
because our identity has been tied to this.
Right. And then
And
you bring in middle age and hormones and all that other stuff.
oh
That's a
man,
totally different
oh
podcast. But
man, listen.
I mean, it's important because people don't talk about it.
We need a safe place for parents just to be transparent and not have uh, their emotions and their vulnerability weaponized, where
Exactly.
nobody's holding over their head. Yeah, I'm struggling. Yes, this is hard. Yes, I can't figure out how to reach my kid. Yes, I don't know who I am now. Yes, I'm going through some hormonal and physiological changes right now as my kid is getting older and I'm having to adjust. All those different things parents need to be cognizant of.
Totally.
And again, we got to get rid of the stigma of not seeking help
Right. And
because
you're
we
not
all need it.
alone. Oh my
You're not
gosh, we went
alone.
through it.
Yeah.
We're going through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like we're starting over with the little ones.
Yes. Yes.
Well, that wraps up today's parent edition of the Coach Dad podcast. If this episode spoke to you or helped you think differently about how you support your athlete, share it with another parent who might need the reminder. You can catch past episodes and resources at podpage.com/coach dad. That's dad with 3 Ds. And remember, dedication fuels you, discipline shapes you, and development carries you. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment wherever you're listening. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.